Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm Joe Jaquint, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and our toll-free number 800-951-0592, the website at allamericangold.com, and welcome to Thursday. We had jobs numbers out, we had wholesale inflation numbers out, and again, more celebrating I guess a little lower inflation, but again, I think this is conditioning. Be ready. The mythical creature that was 2% inflation, maybe we're going to be burying that word before all of this is said and done. And Jason, a lot of water things happening in the news, and one of them that caught my eye, northern Mexico has run out of water. According to Bloomberg, the water crisis in Monterrey. Now, Monterrey is a very important place in Mexico. A lot of manufacturing happens there for us. A lot of our companies are in Monterrey. As an example, some of the world's largest beer makers. Yeah, so it's one thing. Hey, it's one thing to say there's not enough water for all the crops, but Jason, when you start messing with beer, we got a problem.
Well, I haven't heard of a beer shortage yet, Joe, but I guess that could be pretty problematic with football season coming.
Yeah, and they're saying that neighborhoods around Monterrey have been without water for weeks. And they are saying that the water crisis is now so bad that the actual production of beer may have to come to an end. Could you imagine? Right, hey, you go to the store, you can't get a Heineken, no Corona. By the way, beers, Corona Extra, Corona Light, Modelo, Pacifico, amongst others, Jason, that are going to be affected.
Well, what do you say? I mean, I could imagine beer production stopping in a major place. I mean, that obviously, we know how it works. It's supply and demand. I mean, it would cause the beer prices to go up, and I think dramatically.
In Mexico, listen, here's what they've done. Residents, you don't need any water. We're going to give it to the beer company, right? And now, even that may not be enough water.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not a good thing. And wow, I mean, the news you bring sometimes, Joe, I'm not ready for it. I don't even know how to. I can't put it into my mind what is more important, the beer or the water? Obviously it's the water, right? But
you would think.
Yeah, you would think.
You would think. But, hey, again, this is a great example. Speaking of water, the Arizona Republic. Man, I can't even believe what I'm going to tell you right now. Apparently, there's a place here on the west side of Phoenix called Butler Valley. Butler Valley is really state land. Okay, but underneath this area of land, there's over 6 million acre-feet of groundwater. So it's a natural groundwater reservoir. So this doesn't have to do with the Colorado River, doesn't have to do with anything like that. It's just, you know what, this is where groundwater collects. 99% of Butler Valley is owned by the state of Arizona in these trust lands. And anybody that lives here in Arizona, we understand how trust lands work here. They've tied the sale of these Arizona land trust to school funding. So, and again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, right? If all of a sudden, because let's face it here, it's just desert. Hey, we're gonna open up, this 10,000 acres of desert, and we're gonna build apartments and homes, and it makes sense. Hey, part of the sale of that land we're going to use to build schools, right? Because this is where population is going to go. In 1982, that's when the Central Arizona Project became near completion. So that's our Colorado River water. Acting on the advice of the Butler Valley, they told the Department of Federal Bureau of Land Management to transfer this land over to the state because of the water. The thinking was, hey, we could hook that up to the Central Arizona Project, a way to pump more water. Well, in June, the Arizona uncovered how the Arizona State Land Department had handed over thousands of acres to a Saudi corporation called Fundamante, giving it permission to pump unlimited amounts of groundwater to grow alfalfa hay to be exported to Saudi Arabia. According to the official documents that nobody knew about, beginning in 2015, the state of Arizona began leasing land to this group at an annual rental rate, I'm not kidding, an annual rental rate of $25 an acre. Not only that, they were allowed and are being allowed to pump unlimited amounts of water for free.
Oh boy.
Stew on that when we get back. I'll tell you what it costs for that water. Don't touch that dial. 800-951-0592. This isn't even federal government doing this. This was the state of Arizona. So how much water is Fundamante pumping? The company refuses to disclose exactly how much land or how much water it is using. And the Arizona State Land Department apparently has never even bothered to ask. Doesn't even require them to send a report saying, hey, oh, by the way, we use X thousand acre feet of water. Nothing. This company has been growing alfalfa year-round. And they said that through aerial photos, because once again, the State Land Department won't tell us, it appears, Jason, they've been doing this on 3,500 acres of land. According to the geological survey that was done for alfalfa in Butler Valley. So it's funny, you know what? We actually know in this particular area, this is how much water per acre foot how much acre feet of water per acre would be needed to grow the alfalfa. And according to that study, the Saudis have been pumping 22,400 acre feet of water for the last 7 years. So let's review. 3,500 acres. Now I don't know, how much leasing acres are in Arizona. But $25 a year sure sounds like something stinks to high heaven, right? Especially, now, it could be if there was no water, right? It's just desert. Okay, maybe, I don't know, maybe, because what could you do? Rake rocks, right? But no, they knew there was water there, and they get the water for free, which is, of course, a direct violation of the Arizona Constitution. Article 10, Section 4 requires that all land leases and products of land shall be appraised at true value. In other words, the state of Arizona can't pick winners and losers. And anything that they lease to any country, city, individual, corporation has to be done at true market value. And according to the Arizona Republic, fair value just for the water would be $242 per acre foot, which would equate, so I mean, it's so amazing, would equate to $5.42 million a year for the last 7 years. So I know where we can find about $40 million, Jason.
Well, and this is what American companies and the American government has been doing to the rest of the world since World War II, which is send your CIA goons in there, and companies find assets they want, and they find a way to bully these countries into giving up whatever asset it is. So we're talking water. Well, this is happening in America now, and I've watched film on this specific subject, and especially when it comes to the Great Lakes, and big, massive companies come in there and they buy up these contracts to take the water. In Wisconsin and Michigan, especially in Wisconsin, they had a massive fight to get those rights back, and they were successful. But once it's given up, it's real tough to get those rights back. And if there's anything going on from these big water companies taking the water and using it, and I've actually seen video where they dump the water right into the ocean to create a shortage, so that these corporations which have stock, their value goes up because the water is more necessary as the water supplies go down. Veolia is the biggest water corporation on the planet, followed by Suez, ITT Corporation, United Utilities, Severn Trent, Thames Water, and American Water. Those are the 7 biggest as of several years ago. And this is now, they've turned water into, they've commoditized water. If you can imagine someone commoditizing air, and man, you won't be able to breathe unless you can afford to pay for it. This is a very scary situation, Joe. And what these massive corporations are doing is like, well, this is a worldwide. This is a global situation now. Now we can take American assets and profitize it at the which causes grief for the local. Like Arizona, Joe, giving up their water. I mean, that seems like the one of the worst states to be giving up their water rights, Joe.
And again, though, think about this: how many local Arizona farmers would have jumped at that deal? Wait a minute, you're going to do what? You're going to let me have 3,500 acres for $25 a year per acre, and I get unlimited free water? But yet we do this for Saudi Arabia. I mean, and think about this. This was done. I mean, did we? Apparently, we forgot who was behind 9/11, right? Apparently, we forgot that. We want to pretend. If we all want to pretend it was Osama bin Laden in a cave somewhere in Afghanistan, I guess we can. But we know. Everybody knows. Higher-ups in Saudi Arabia were absolutely involved in that charade that was 9/11. And you know what, Jason? Here's the funny part, is how many Arizona farmers right now have lost, especially in Pinal County, because of cuts to the Colorado River, don't have access to water.
Right. Saudi Arabia is a country that's starving off their neighbor to the south, Yemen. That there's no fuel going there, and with no fuel going there, there's no food being grown, and there's children starving to death by the hundreds of thousands. So the Saudi Arabians are very profit-minded. That country has gone from being a regular Muslim nation to being a profit-driven monster, and it's those people. This is just the culture of it, Joe. It doesn't surprise me that a Saudi Arabian company would come in and do this. So it's all about letting somebody take control of an asset. And right now, water this is a bad one, Joe. There's going to be some kind of disasters across the world because of the ability and the availability of fresh water. And it really does look like technologically we're in a position where they can make it scarce so that their profits are driven upward. It's crazy, Joe.
In 4 days, 2 the minimum amount of reduction of water, 2 million acre feet, needs to be cut between the 7 states that share the Colorado River. And actually, here's the sad part. That won't even be enough. We actually need to cut at least 2.5 to 3 million acre feet to keep the water level from going any lower. But in 4 days, the states have to agree to cut at least 2 million of it. Hasn't happened yet. The 4 upper states, Colorado being one of the upper states, is like, hey, we've got seniority, not our problem. And they're saying that Arizona, Nevada, and California, you guys figure it out. We don't have to cut until the next round. And Jason, we're talking about 3,500 acres getting free water. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And I think when people here in Colorado are driving around and seeing the traffic just as crazy as it is, and housing should be cooling off, the housing prices here in Colorado are growing because people are still moving here, Joe, because people aren't stupid. You might want to move to a place that has a reliable water source in the future, right? And it's crazy in Colorado.
I'm going to tell you, I was doing some research. Arizona, we have the least amount of rights. And we are going to have the biggest cut. We've already had a huge cut, but this is going to be a big one. They're talking about even Yuma. We produce a lot of the vegetables consumed in this country in Yuma, Arizona. Even Yuma is now going to be cut. So again, you think this inflation's over and these idiots on TV try, oh yeah, see, look, it fell a little bit, it's all over. You don't even know what you're talking about. Look at the food number yesterday. The largest increase year over year in food since 1979. So even with the new way of accounting things, Jason, the food prices have increased so much, it's actually gotten back into the 70s type.
The two things besides printing of money that can make the food prices explode in cost is water and fuel. Joe, those are the two. Right. Those things become difficult for people to buy and price in accordingly. Food goes up astronomically.
Ask all these ranchers why they're getting rid of their herds.
Right.
Because they don't have hay. Here we got 3,500 acres, and guess where? Year round. And guess what? Not only does Saudi Arabia get it for nothing, they ship it all back to Saudi Arabia.
Yep. They hold a whole lot of Federal Reserve notes in Saudi Arabia, Joe. And if they're worried the value of those are going down, they're going to want to buy whatever they can get over here. And they're going to do it now. They're not going to do it later. Let's face it, they want to be able to get as much as they can with those Federal Reserve notes if these treasuries become more and more worthless and the dollar becomes more and more worthless. So what is Saudi Arabia going to do? Buy stuff from Russia? Buy stuff from Japan? There's not a lot of purchasing of Federal Reserve, of these treasuries like they used to, Joe. So there is one place I could spend my dollars. I can go buy some Arizona water. I could go buy land rights in Washington State. I can go to Colorado and see if I can get those guys to let up some of their water rights. And that's what's actually happening in this country. The last few presidents, Joe, they have gobbled up national lands more than every president before him. So Obama, for example, he made more federal lands available, by gobbling up from different states than every president before him. Trump was on the pace to more than everything that Obama did, plus everybody else at his rate. So I haven't looked at Joe Biden's number, but I'm guessing they're gobbling up more federal lands. And once the federal government has it, man, that's against our debt, Joe. That stuff's gonna be a fire sale when people want something for their dollars.
Yeah, this is it's just outrageous. It really truly is, and this is government at its worst. I mean, now that we're going to be faced with all of these cuts, somebody's finally figured out, hey, wait a minute, what kind of deal was this? And like I said, not only could this have been given to Arizona farmers, number one, number two, the fruit of that, which is the alfalfa itself, is all being sent back to Saudi Arabia. We don't even get to consume it You look at what's happening with the cattle herds because they don't have enough alfalfa to feed the cattle, so they've all been sent to slaughter. I mean, it's absolutely asinine. But this is what's happening everywhere. There's and again, here's the sad part. I'm making a big deal. But remember what I said, 2 billion acre feet.
Yep.
This 3,500 acres was only 22,000 acre feet of it. Right? So when you think about what we're talking about, that's like 1% of the water that would need to be cut. And I'm sitting there saying Arizona's going to have the biggest piece of this to absorb. How many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of acres that were used for agriculture are going to disappear in Arizona because of it?
And Joe, I'll tell you right now, if Arizona were to push back on this and try to get something more for their assets, this Saudi Arabian company, if the price went up 10x, they're going to keep buying it. I would venture to say if it went up 100x, this is what water is becoming. It's becoming an asset that exponentially the price goes up. And these foreign companies, if it is foreign companies, they'll keep buying it, Joe. They'll keep buying it.
Welcome back here. Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason, 800-951-0592. Got a little profit taking in gold and silver today. Right now, gold $17.90 right now, down a couple of dollars here. Silver's down as well here, $20.30. The Dow is a little higher. It's up about just under 200 points as the manufacturing inflation number came in a little cooler. Again, gasoline went down. Jobless claims up again this time, but not bad. But 262, the 4-week moving average now above 252,000. Some more layoff announcements were made. Again, they're starting to appear a little more regularly. Go Health, they're laying off 800 workers. The U.S. Postal Service announcing that they're, and I love this word, temporarily going to be increasing prices, Jason, for the holidays. Yeah, so just don't worry. It's just going to be temporary. They're saying that the increase will go into effect October 2nd. It will last through January 22, 2023. They're saying that commercial priority mail packages will see a 75-cent hike, and long-distance deliveries will see an increase of up to $6.50. Wow. That's quite a bit.
Yeah, I kind of like physical cash. It's printed by the Federal Reserve. I don't like it, but it's like the last bit of privacy we have. Physical mail, which most people don't use, it is one way to privately send messages to people, right, Joe? If I wanted to send my grandma a letter and I didn't really want to send it through the email, because we know that if you're on Gmail or any of these other email providers, somebody else is probably storing that information somewhere, and I want the physical mail to be there, but yeah, the cost and the service is probably at all-time worst levels, Joe.
Yeah, I mean that's $6.50.
Yeah, I know.
Not just $6.50, $6.50 in addition to what they were already charging.
Yeah, I remember. It used to be, what is it, 15 cents or 18 cents, 20 cents for a stamp to send a letter, and I guess what is over 50 cents now, or 60 cents for a stamp to send a letter.
You know what? I don't know. I'd have to ask the girls. I know they just had another price increase on stamps, but and again, they're just saying, hey, stuff that you want to, I don't know, ship to the west side, add 75 cents. Anything that they consider to be longer, add another $6.50. But again, all of these things are happening. Martin Armstrong, he's a guy that, he's a Nobel guy, big economist. He was out, I want to say it was yesterday, with Greg Hunter, USA Watchdog. We'll try to get this up on our website, saying that we need to prepare for the chaos that's coming in 2023, saying that the destabilization of America has been kicked into high gear with the raid from the FBI on Trump's Florida home. Here again, this was another nonsensical thing. And how many of them have there been? They could have simply called and said, hey, President Trump, we have these documents we believe you have. Will you please give them back to us? Because the more we're learning here, it doesn't appear that any of these documents are still classified, that all of these documents that they've gotten, apparently, allegedly, have already been declassified. Or they could have even served him with a subpoena to say, hey, produce these. Of course, you'd have to know what the documents were. But instead, they had FBI agents show up with their ARs and their guns, and of course now they don't call it a raid, right, Jason? Because they don't like that word. No, it wasn't a raid. We were executing this search warrant. But Armstrong says in the United States we are supposed to have civilized transfer of power. That is all coming to an end. I am not being dramatic. From a legal perspective, this is completely unprecedented. And of course, because it's never happened. The danger of this is once they've done this, if the Republicans are ever allowed to get back into power, remember we talked about this on the half-empty cup, is Donald Trump going to run again, and if he gets reelected, is he going to clean house? They were going to end up doing the same thing that the Democrats are doing now. And isn't that the truth, Jason? There's no going back here.
Yeah, well, I mean, all we do is we sit here and observe it, Joe. I got to go back to where you said earlier, which is, why didn't they just ask him for access? Which means they didn't. It's obvious they didn't. They had to make it a huge news story. So, we don't really know what exactly is happening. It's hard to react properly, Joe, when we don't really know what they're doing. We know that they raided the place.
Right. Reports are they had an inside informant. They placed somebody inside Mar-a-Lago that allegedly knew where these documents were. If that was the case,
Alexa,
they simply could have asked. Hey,
yes,
because yesterday I was saying it didn't look like they even knew what they were looking for. Now today they're saying, no, we knew what we were looking for because we had an informant on the inside.
Why do I have a feeling that was an electronic informant, Joe? one of the devices that were in there that they were just listening on. That's the future of informants in my book. That's their informant, Joe.
Armstrong goes in, talks about how Joe Biden has no support, that we are sitting here in the middle of the collapse of Western civilization. It's socialism that is collapsing because these people have done nothing but borrow money to bribe them to vote for them. There is no way to pay it back, and they have no intention of paying it back. And just as something Jason and we talk about it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. They have no intention of paying it back. They intend to take it from us. That's what they intend to do. We'll be back with more Martin Armstrong. 800-951-0592. And I just got to tell you, Ramon is the best. Ramon, our producer here in Phoenix at KXXT. If you want to listen to Martin Armstrong, And listen, this guy, when it comes to economics, he's widely followed, very respected. The whole interview now is up at allamericangold.com. Great job by Ramon. And again, I'm going to tell you this. I don't think he's wrong here. And wait till I haven't even gotten to really what he's saying, because after the raid, now, because I'll just tell you where I was at. I didn't want Trump to run again. I wanted him to back DeSantis and let DeSantis run, because I figured it would be easier, right? People hate him a lot less. That was my logic. Now, after this, I want Trump to run because I want him to pay back the old saying, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion. If the candidate's not saying the right things, I won't do it. But we'll see. Who knows what is going to happen in the next few months before the midterms, and then, of course, in the next 2 years. And we'll be on the radio talking about it, Joe. That's for sure.
It is striking a real death blow to the very idea of democracy. Absolutely. I mean, this is petty. Right, this has nothing to do with the law or anything else. This just has to do with we don't like you and we don't like your supporters. We are not until today someplace like Guatemala, where you throw the opposition in jail, kill them, do whatever. But after this, all bets are off. The Democrats are in dire straits, and they know it. Armstrong thinks the Trump raid by the FBI an act of desperation that is going to backfire. I have been warned that Democrats have been maneuvering, and the reason they are allowing all the illegal aliens to come in is they intend to allow them to vote. Now, there's an interesting take. You already had the Justice Department go after one state that said you had to prove you are an American to vote. And they filed suit against them saying they violated their civil rights. At the stage of the game, all of Europe, Australia, Japan, everybody that they want could just simply send in a vote. Forget about what the mainstream polls are saying. Joe Biden has no support. We are basically sitting here in the middle of a collapse of Western society. There is no way back. We have no way of paying back the debt. Japan, Europe, just forget it. You have emerging markets collapsing around the world because they have to sell their debt in dollars. Yeah. He mentioned Sri Lanka, Lebanon, Pakistan, Argentina. And he goes on to say that he does see the possibility. Now, I've been saying October. This one creeps me out a little bit. A possibility of a stock market collapse in September.
Yep.
Worried about civil war or extreme civil unrest in America in 2023. Armstrong says he is seeing world war coming in 2024 or after. My computer warns that there may not even be an election in America in 2024. It's reaching that critical period. So this raid on Trump is like throwing the gauntlet down. Everything is gone. If you want to listen to the whole interview, go out to allamericangold.com. Jason, this is talk from a guy who doesn't talk like this. I'm thinking his computer's telling him. So obviously he's privy to information that I don't know what he's looking at. I'm not sure. But how far away from this are we? Right? I mean, look. Nobody in their right mind, me included, thought there was going to be a war between Russia and Ukraine. Yet there was. Nobody out there right now thinks there's going to be a war between Taiwan and China, but yet what do we keep doing? Oh, let's keep poke the bear, poke the bear, poke the bear. I mean, this kind of lines up, doesn't it?
Well, Joe, I'll say this, and I'm going to keep pounding it. When Steve Bannon had his speech on Friday and ended it with that anti-central bank speak, if Trump actually backs that up and runs and says, I'm going to do this, your whole world war thing he's talking about and chaos all over the place, that's what the bankers will do to hold their system. They will cause every disaster in human history to keep their system. But if Trump comes in and he speaks softly, it won't happen.
If he says that Martin Armstrong may be right, there may not be an election in 2024. That's
right. Nothing's off the table if someone goes after the power brokers that run the world. There's nothing nothing is off the table, Joe. That's every single disaster you could think of in human history could be right there in the coming years if someone tries to take out the most powerful entity in world history, which is this corporate and banker-backed monstrosity that runs everything, Joe.
I'm not gonna lie, I just scared myself. I didn't even. 800-951-0592. Final segment coming up.
Joe, let me jump in real quick on this. You want to get him a little more freaked out. So I was actually...
No, I don't!
I was thinking about my brother. I was going to make a comment that my brother had made. My brother calls Jack to say if Joe is sounding crazier than Jason, then this is really a worrisome situation. At the same time, I was like, you know what? I was going to come in on this segment and say, Joe, I was talking to Matt one day, and I said, what if the government, let's just say the Biden or the banker-backed government, wanted to turn the military against the people? And I said, what percentage of the military would actually point their guns at the American people? He said, because he's 20 years retired military. He was National Guard retired. He said 70% of the military would turn their guns by orders immediately. So, which means the only other question is, what would the 30% that wouldn't turn their guns against the public? What percentage of those people would actually fight against that? And it's like it's weird when my brother, who doesn't ever call here, is calling Jack with a comment at the same time that I'm thinking about talking about him on the air. That's weird stuff, Joe. We're hitting a sensitive spot for sure.
800-951-0592. I did not read the last few bits of that Martin Armstrong article when I was prepping this morning. I read the first part, and I just, okay, yeah, that fits, and I'm going to go here and there, and I didn't actually read the rest of it, and now I'm kind of wishing I had. Maybe I do. You know what? God has a plan. He always does. Because if I had, I don't think I would have done it. I don't think I would have done the article.
Joe, I find it is not a coincidence that Steve Bannon makes anti-banker statements loud and clear on Friday, and then they raid Trump's property on Monday. That is not a coincidence. When people that actually have influence in Washington, D.C. say, let's get rid of the Federal Reserve and replace it by the people to run their treasury, that scares the bankers, Joe.
I still have some 20s at 21.75. I went back and looked. The last time we had 20s at 21.75 was July 29th. So I went and looked. What was gold on July 29th? Because that's not that long ago. Gold was $1,715. Right now, gold is $1,792. So this is huge, huge value. Pick some up here, 800-951-0592. And just to go, Martin Armstrong talking about a stock market event in September now, RoboBank, just coming out. $1.9 trillion in new spending, cost zero. The border is secured. Republicans are the real police defunders. 2 consecutive quarters of economic contraction is not a recession. Inflation Reduction Act. 8.5% inflation now equals zero. Real wages down 3% equals wages up. Don't believe any of the current economic data. It's all being manipulated because of midterm elections. Jason, that's quite a claim.
That is quite a claim. That is quite a claim, Joe. We're living in a weird world, aren't we, Joe? I was just looking at this little headline. You would think that if you're a corporation or a business, you wouldn't want to reopen or open stores in Ukraine. But McDonald's is going to reopen a bunch of their restaurants in Ukraine. Doesn't that not fit with the whole war theme that we're being pounded into our brains, Joe? Why is McDonald's reopening their restaurants in a war zone?
Man, sure, why not, right? Maybe they're going to smuggle arms through McDonald's.